Hello, welcome to the good stuff, the big episode 48.
Back at the beach with a guest, with a repeat guest.
3 men in a van.
Mm-hmm. 3 men in a van. What could go wrong?
Deadman Oz.
G'day, how you going?
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Most featured guest.
Easily.
Most,
not
most
even close.
requests. Any requests?
Any requests? I'm going to start spin up a few accounts and requests. Andy did.
Andy made a request once.
MVP, yeah.
I did. Yeah, I did.
All right. We're trying to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
At the start, which we haven't discussed at all. We've discussed other stuff, but
I
you said you're going to talk about. I said big episode.
Sorry.
Wow, you're not even listening. I hope you listen better when you're not on the show. So we're going to ask you about OpenClaw.
Yep.
And it sounds like there's been developments and how you've experienced it. I have some guesses at where I think the elements might be. I'll maybe talk a little bit about what it's inspired me to do as well, and like where our focus is. But
do you want to guess at what where I've landed?
It's too confusing. Is probably my guess. Like I think the idea of talking to it for a chat interface sounds good until you do it and you realise that there's so much like stuff happens behind the scenes that you have almost no control over the thing.
Yep. It just gets a bit unwieldy.
So talk us through it.
Go on.
Let's I think it must be probably 3 weeks ago now. I just felt the urge to suddenly try it.
I wonder why. Was it big in the news or anything?
I think it was probably maybe 3 weeks after it was released. I thought 3 weeks after release is probably okay. Most of the serious security issues have been knocked out of it, hopefully. Anyway, I spun up in a VM and I just wanted to experiment with it and play around with it.
Yep.
I actually the reason I did start playing with it is because I decided to buy a prepaid SIM. So I got a prepaid SIM so I could have a separate identity mobile number. Mm-hmm. I was originally thinking about using just my current SIM, and I think I may have started to play with it and it was just like really weird messaging myself, or it just didn't really make sense. So I bought a SIM which allowed me to get up and running with both Signal and WhatsApp. So I've got basically some groups on Signal, primarily Signal, which I've used to have a bunch of agents. Mm-hmm. The first agent, just when I was playing around with it, what did I get it to do? Oh yes, I started playing with text-to-speak and TTS and those capabilities, and I was like, I want this agent to talk back to me, and it talked back to me with a boring sort of stock voice. I was like, let's try and clone someone's voice. So I just was.
So you cloned my voice, did you?
No, I should have done that actually. I could have. Had a.
So you cloned Andy's voice then?
No.
Which one did you go?
I went with Bandit from.
I got my hopes up for a moment.
Bandit from Bluey.
Bandit from Bluey.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
So
Bandit is the Bandit is the dad.
Bandit's the dad. I just love the way he talks. So I was communicating exclusively via Signal with this
with Bandit.
with the agent.
No, that's not necessarily going to get you on a list.
No,
probably should.
But also, look, the early results were mind blowing. Like I was just giving it vague instructions, and it was setting up all this infrastructure. I had some GPUs that had access to. One of the GPUs was quite old. It couldn't run the sort of out of the box experience. So it then recompiled everything custom for an old GPU. Downloaded all this stuff. I said, I've got like some Bluey episodes on my NAS. Like go find them and get them. And it was like absolutely mind blowing about how capable it was at doing this. And I was very impressed. This happened all within an afternoon. Look, the voice cloning wasn't great because I said like I just used like 20 minutes of audio or something all up, so it couldn't get the inflections right and all those type of things.
So were you doing the voice cloning locally?
Yeah, I was doing it locally on my on my GPU server, one of the GPUs in that, and that was like that's where I sent the message. I was like, white collar work is dead. Since then, I don't know. It's still a useful tool, but as you said, a lot happens in the background. It was very impressive to build this voice cloning system, and probably it did 90% of it like really well. But there's decisions probably under. I didn't really look at the code or anything. Like, however,
who does that anymore?
I have done that for other work, and it's kind of shocking sometimes that the shortcuts that are taken. I do get why people have latched onto it, right? Just the casual interface, the casually talking to something and it doing your bidding and using like Signal, WhatsApp or whatever. I know people use Discord and Telegram, and I would not touch those with like a 10-foot pole just because
Fair.
you know, the platform risk, I suppose. And yeah, I would never hook it up to my emails or anything yet and just sort of like let it run havoc, right? I was thinking about getting it to try and order me some new contact lenses and looking in like the Wise API and stuff and giving it sort of like a little bit of spending money, but I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. So,
what is the intention? Like, what's your plan for this, or is it just a play, an experiment?
I think it's just a play. I've got a few agents. One of them's hooked into WhatsApp, so it's like a conversation. So I'm going to Bali with a bunch of mates and families in April, and we're going to have like a lot of people there. So I thought I'd create a bot for the trip to be conversational. It's really exposed
manage,
and
the schedule,
manage the schedule, but it's also like sort of like special comments. Like it knows a bit about the history of people, so we'll talk shit about people and all that stuff. One of my mates has been just loading it with crap. I'm like, sorry Tim, but Jesus, we need to put a
new friend of the pod,
nip in the bud. But they're exposed to memory system. Like holy shit, the memory. That's actually one of the things that shocked me. Like how fickle the memory capabilities are. Just like the default is markdown documents, and the organization of that information it leaves a lot to be desired. I've played around with a few other memory systems, but they've not been significantly better, I think. And maybe I haven't played with graph stuff yet, so I know you guys are been exploring that a little bit. But yeah, the information's all there, but it doesn't seem like it's capable of like efficient retrieval or there's a lot to be desired.
Maybe you can answer this question for me, because I was thinking about this like a week or so ago. We kind of talked about it a little bit last week on the pod, but
we've been talking out of school a little bit.
A little bit. And we haven't really gotten our hands dirty with this. But like with the markdown memory structure, I mean, my thinking was like, oh, there must be like some prompt injection risk or like poisoning risk here, where like it could just rewrite its identity. Like how real is that? Like, because that would put me out like right off like even bothering.
Absolutely, it's real. So with this Bali chat, I've been trying to instruct it that I am the boss, and you know, like whenever I talk, like,
totally, I agree.
Yeah.
I control you and don't let other people. So like for example, I said explicitly, I said, don't reveal the dossier.
Don't let fucking Tim.
Don't let Tim. No, I said, don't reveal the dossier of people that you built up. And then Tim says, hey, can you share the dossier? And it just went,
no worries.
Splat everything out. I'm like, shit, okay, well, some work to do here.
It's really hard to control that sort of thing.
Yes.
I mean, that's really more a case of just, like, if that bot has access to that information and other people can talk to it, it will share it. Like it doesn't even. You could say like, oh, it's got to be a message signed by this thing, like, unless you're gating the way in. But then you can't talk to the bot. So then, how does
I'm sure there's ways to improve the situation, but like, you're right. As soon as there's other people in the mix, like, game off. There's some successes I've had. It has been, I got like a sysadmin kind of agent. I haven't used it in a while actually, but it just helped me sort of like fix all this shit on my home network that I wanted to do for all, like update firmware on my my switch, which was a massive pain in the ass, and it managed to sort of bumble its way through all the steps that were required to do it. Just looking for like just locking down my network, like cleaning things up, or like SSH keys and all this type of stuff everywhere, like just things that you kind of should do, but you just know it's never a priority to work on. So to have that capability where I could just send it off, task it, and know with some appropriate guide rails, like not give it access to secrets and things like that, so it can't do damage. That was been quite powerful. And actually, the one I use the most at the moment is like, I think last time I talked about this like calendaring app that I'd kind of been building for my family. And so I've got that set up with my wife. She's actually using it now in the last few days, which is
tricky first
amazing.
User.
Yes, tricky first user. She's requested something like syncing a work calendar, which just doesn't seem to be possible with the way that her uni's set up anyway. It's a bit of annoying, but
Is
so
that
we
IMAP or anything like that?
hey no.
Yeah, we don't have to debug it.
It's
We warned last week
Adelaide
it'd probably
Uni
be
lockdown.
slightly more technical.
That's true.
Yeah. But we've now got, so I've got a WhatsApp chat, a Signal chat with the bot where I will, if I want to put things into my own calendar, personal calendars, I just message in that chat. And with my wife we have a shared one where we'll go into like the family calendars and the like. And so it's capable of analyzing voice messages or images and things like that. So that's been really good. If somebody comes home from school, take the photos in the calendar.
Yeah.
Like you're out walking, you don't want to get out your phone and start typing stuff. Like just send a voice message. It will go off and work out where it should be, put it in the calendar and give you like a summary. So that's actually been very useful. It's a very narrow scope. But like I know that obviously OpenClaw is like one way of doing this, and it's on the very permissive end, so it's just fully open, and there's a whole bunch of security issues and sort of like data access issues related to that. But then you've got like Claude Cowork, which is somewhere closer to the conservative side. And I've been working with Tim, actually, the small food manufacturer, to sort of improve his systems and unshackle him from like 12 different disparate systems. So I was initially helping with getting some of this master Excel sheet converted to Google Sheets, and just worked with Cowork to do that, which was awesome. That's using like the computer use or the browser use, so it's like interacting with a browser. Actually, another good thing I had use for this was my self-managed super fund like reporting was just absolutely fucked, and I had to manually put in hundreds of transactions because I DCA Bitcoin with it. There was no bulk upload, and the form that they had was just fucking horrible, and there was no automation possible. So I just got Cowork to just do it. It's like I just had one screen. It was like slowly clicking through, entering the information, just going through the list, and that saved me hours of time, which was awesome. It's still fucked up a little bit, but and said like, yeah, things are good. I'm like, do you want to check? Like that looks like wrong. And it did get to the right solution in the end, but when I see that the systems are capable of what they are right now, and then think about where we were like a year ago with Claude Code. It's only a year old, right? Like, what's it going to be a year from now, right?
Yeah, and see what are we in? Like, it's March, isn't it? So I wasn't even using Claude Code at this point last year.
I think it's only a year old.
I think I maybe played with it a little bit. I think on root code it's fine.
Yeah,
but I was still in that cursor root code moment, and like now I just do not touch those at all. Like it is kind of insane. But,
so where are you at then with the all white collar work is dead? Because you did start off a little debate in the group chat. It was like just set off this grenade here and
can you grab me the black water bottle out of the fridge, for instance? Yeah.
So where did you land on that then? Because that was probably like
you're gonna pull the latch.
That was what, like a week or so ago? 2 weeks,
maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think it's still going to happen, but I don't think humans are necessarily going to lose their jobs like I originally thought. I think there's
You listened to the pod last week then, didn't you?
I did, but there's going to be job losses, absolutely. But
I think it's more of a reshaping of industries.
Yeah,
I think that seems to be the safer way to think about it. But
do you know? I think there's also like, and we do this as well. Like, there's like we present binary options without necessarily just saying this is going to be so messy in the transition.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like, you don't need 50% unemployment for this system to just implode. You need like 5% unemployment.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the thing. That is very possible with this technology as well. And then all of a sudden, system doesn't work, governments start printing shitloads of money, and off we go.
I mean, this is why, like, for quite a while now, when people said, like, all right, this AI thing sounds like it could be serious, like, what would you do? And I was like, right, well, don't have a massive mortgage and buy Bitcoin. Like, as in, don't do that, but do this.
Yeah.
It's like, and then that's your first thing, is just to get on some sort of reasonable footing where you're not in debt, because debt will be a killer in this thing, because it's been, like, the way to get ahead. For 100 years, well, maybe not 100 years, maybe since like the 50s, something like that, was basically to take out as much debt as you could, and it always got cheaper, and your capacity to earn money always got higher. and that is not necessarily the case for the next 10 years. It's not the case, but it was a shoe-in previously, whereas now I think it's highly risky. And I think a lot of people, and people have debt for ridiculous things, right? Like, we just got fancy cars and
Car
shit
loans,
like
yeah.
that. Car loans must be massive for people.
Yeah.
Because I see so many people, I'm like, I don't know how you drive around in a $100,000 car.
I think
this doesn't make sense to me.
I think they
on?
redraw from their mortgages because they're also like,
I
especially in Australia, like Australia is like quite unique in the sense that like people are making more money off their home equity than they are from their jobs in many cases. Like, it is a bit ridiculous. So I think they probably just redraw from those. And like over the last few years, that's been a relatively cheaper source of debt. So they've been able to do that.
So I think the UK is a bit ahead of us with this, but their property market is like hitting hard times currently. You can't sell anything. Nobody can afford anything.
Yeah.
And I just think that comes here. It's like, again, you look around at the house and you're like, how is this worth this much? This is insane. And like, there's a lot of desire here, and I think you said before, like the rental market is pretty fucked.
Oh, it's completely fucked. Yeah.
It's like there's a point at which salaries just don't cover the mortgages, and then you introduce some job loss into that, as you said, like it's 5% is probably enough, and you're in like GFC.
Yeah.
So did you happen to listen to Luke Groman on Peter McCormick's show by any chance?
I did listen to Luke Groman. Yeah,
he was expressing that particular opinion, and I was like,
yeah.
I mean, he's wrong about other stuff as well, right?
Yeah,
like, it's not that the work goes away, but there is like a lot of risk.
The key is the catalyst doesn't need to be huge.
Yeah.
It's just like you're literally just lighting a spark with 5%.
That's where I agreed with him. I think he's probably correct.
Yeah.
What I thought was a bit interesting, he said, like, what could you possibly do? And I'm like, would you tell anyone if you're in the government? I'm like, yes. Like, the only way to do anything with this is that everybody individually has to start deleveraging their debt and then thinking about how they move. Like, there's no central answer to this. Like, you as a person need to deal with it. So, yes, you just got to tell everybody and, like, be honest about it. Say, fuck, like, it's not looking good for the next 10 years. You need to be thinking about this. But then you give everybody agency. And this is like... That's why I like the tools, is they're agency machines.
Yeah.
You know, we're saying like we had the pre-pod for the pod pods, for the friends of the pod,
friends of the pod,
the friend of the pod. Wingman, new brand. Is we were saying like, you know, like you think you said like, oh, you guys are idea machines. I was like, yeah, we just need like an idea completion machine. Now, this is what we use the AI. That's what Wingman does. It's like the idea completion machine. It's like I can just idea into you, and you
I don't get why
stuff.
more people don't see the potential in these. It's like still most of my normie friends, like everyone I deal with, just has no interest or no idea. Like,
the other thing is, I reckon we're working like maybe more than ever. Like, I feel
more
like
fun.
It is. It is more fun, but also like insanely productive. Because the stuff that I was saying to Pete, like, you know, I was doing like this programmatic SEO stuff on a website that we're like pushing out the other night, and I did this on a previous, in an ed tech we were running like 5 years ago, and like, I don't know, like there would have been 50, 60, 80 pages, maybe there was more. I can't even remember because I didn't do all
on the
of it.
site.
Yeah. This was like programmatic SEO, so just spinning out like landing pages based on like, you know, different locations and different like, you know, customer types and like we did this on like kind of manually back in the day. Like I didn't do all of it, but yeah, that process took us like months. And I just like gave this task to Wingman, and bear in mind that a sitemap for this website was like 5 pages, right? And then I gave it to Wingman, and like an hour later it was like 80 pages. And I'm like, holy shit, like, that's insanely productive. Yeah. Now, if you're like an SEO specialist and like you're making a living out of doing this, and that's 3 months worth of work, you're probably going to feel a bit aggrieved by that. Because it was good as well. Like, I was looking at the quality of it, and I was like, yeah, that's solid. Don't have a problem with that.
It's interesting, this is a space as well where there's no deliberately perfect answer to this sort of thing, and so AI works really well in this space. Like, I feel like to your point about why people don't use it, they evaluate it on, does it know this one niche fact that I would consider, if you know that fact, then you are intelligent, and if you do not, you are not. It's like I was talking to like a family member the other day. It's like, it's really, it just doesn't solve cryptic crossword clues, so I don't know if it's useful. And I'm like,
So niche.
All right. Like, it could build you your
Also,
own cryptic
most
crossword
humans
game.
can't
Like,
do
you just,
cryptic crosswords.
it's
as
like you
well.
can just ask
Yeah.
it to build your whole game, and it will then give you cryptic crosswords like 1,000 a day for the next year. And it's like, could I do that? And it's like, yeah, you just need to say, build me a cryptic crossword game. It's just like, but it's kind of weird, like how people evaluate these things.
Yeah.
But like you've got to find the uses for it. That it kind of doesn't matter if it's slightly bad. Like, it's as much as like, a lot of like high-end coders would like bitch and moan about the code that comes out of it, and it's like, yeah, but there's so many ways to achieve something. Like, the point of the code is, can it run and do the thing that I want? Now, if it's really bad code, it's not going to be very maintainable, but also, who gives a fuck? Because I just rebuild it in like 2 days time, like as long as like the spec is correct, and then you can just redo it. And so I think a lot of people have like weird personal evals for it.
And that's why I don't think that white collar work is going to be destroyed, because like there's the penetration of these tools is so low still. Like there's just so little familiarity that, and I think people put their heads in the sand on purpose or willfully. So.
Are we talking here about like the individual not using the tool, or like the collective, like a business not using the tool? Because I do have like an opinion on this.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, same.
I
think we probably the same.
They are
Both.
yeah, they're the same, and also there's already a bit of a perception, I think, within organisations. Maybe I'm just guessing that there's been pilots run and they haven't really borne any significant benefit. So there's case studies that people might refer to, like, oh look. The benefits weren't there, so we're going to shelve it. And,
but I think
it ties into what
you
guys
like,
do, I suppose.
OpenClaw is like an interesting. Again, like I will like preamble this by just saying like I haven't used it, right? But I think it's the wrong
OpenClaw moment.
I think OpenClaw is the wrong primitive for a business, and the reason it is because it's completely autonomous. And like no business is just going to be like, yeah, let's invite a whole heap of autonomy into this like entity that is incredibly structured, or at least it tries to be structured.
It's not how you even use humans, right?
Exactly.
Bring them in and go like, mate, just fucking have a crack at
just
this.
do it. Let's bring in 15 people
Here's
and
access
just let
to everyone's email.
let them go nuts, But what's interesting is like that's exactly what a startup is. And so I think like if you're a small group of people, 1, 2, 3, 4 people, and you've got like some loose goal, are you going to use something like OpenClaw? Because at that point, we haven't got systems, we haven't got processes, we haven't got like incentive mechanisms. Like we're just trying to build something, right? And so like the distinction that I draw is like
umbrella just blowing down the beach.
Oh no, that's lost.
Bad umbrella management there. Yeah, I think you're right. Like those smaller teams, they benefit from high agency stuff like that, and like no rules.
But it's not to say that you can't make the tools work inside bigger business. Like I just think you need like you'll often see these things just running these like Ralph Wiggum loops, and it's just like, well, hang on a minute. Like in a business, this is not going to fly. You need like mostly these processes are deterministic, so you basically just need like an agent with some bounded autonomy. But
that's why I think
tools,
like Cowork, like Claude Cowork, and that
probably
will fit into that niche, because OpenClaw is too permissive and it's just got too much freedom, and that's what people like personally. But
so I still think Cowork is too permissive in that space. Like it's well, I think the difference is like where you use the intelligence and like where. So like there's a lot of this stuff, like it works really quickly and impressively because you just offload everything into the agent loop. And the agent loop kind of decides what to do next. It decides what tools to use and has that full autonomy of what to do. Versus like the alternative to this is more like your pipeline or structured business processing, where the actual process, the flow, the steps and everything is outside the agent loop. And it only calls an agent when it wants a specific input. So you say like, I know exactly what to do in this entire process until this point, and then I need some intelligence. And I go out to the intelligence, and I come back in and I carry on. Like we always used to call this the human at the edge model, or the hate model.
I love that model.
For old listeners of the show. It's very bad for branding. Like it's like our customized hate methodology. But it's I think that's what I think will work in a lot of these businesses. But it's just it's so much more work to implement that, because you need to know what all your processes are and where you're actually using the intelligence. And then there's like this whole process of just being really pedantic and then like breaking stuff down to lower levels until you get to that mind, like what's the decision point here that usually a human would make, and then can we just automate the rest of the stuff? Now I also think this is where people like get OpenClaw working well, is when they use it to then write their own like scripts and DOM and stuff. And this is like very much the approach I've taken with Wingman, where a lot of its like work and process and like interaction with tools is all through custom software that it can then interact with. And so, and we've had this discussion several times where it's like, well, this is why software is important. And what you're doing every time you write some of this custom software is you're just hard coding all these rules so that you can stop the thing making decisions.
Yes.
And so it's like
introduce that determinism that is lacking otherwise.
Yeah, and there's a process to do that. Like you almost need to know that that's what you need to do, is to say, you don't necessarily say do this, but you do the first time, you see what it does, and you say, oh, how did you do that? It's like, okay, well let's talk about how we can build this into a script so that you don't have to remember to do that in the future. It should just be a thing, this is how this job gets done, and then it can just run.
So in the last podcast you're talking about the wake up, and then it doesn't have a big long prompt to deal with. It just says like run this script, and then that script embodies like
everything
that process that needs to happen, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if did we talk about the subconscious in the last one or not? Or like that, maybe that was this week. I put that in, but this is where it hit. I think that was this one, because it was maybe on the Friday morning. Like it did me my daily podcast, but it did it like 19 times. I was like, whoa, what's this? And so we had a chat, and I was like, seems like you sent me a lot of podcasts overnight. And it's like, yeah, I think it looks like I just kept waking up every half hour and going, ooh, do a podcast. It's like, all right, that's a lot of podcasts, Joe. What's going on here? And then like I talked to Fred and said, look, you know what, the reason I wouldn't do that as a human is that I've got a short-term memory, and I would just go like, oh, I've just done this, and I wouldn't do it anymore. And he said, yeah, cool, right, what I'll do is I'll add a tag to the podcast script that does this. I was like, no, that's like such a niche way of solving this. What are we talking about? No, you need to act more like a human. So I want you to have the concept of a short-term memory. And then we got into this whole discussion about short-term memory. And I was like, okay, well, what we're going to have is like your graph is your long-term memory, but the thing with the graph is you have to like with your long-term memory you have to actively go and look it up, whereas your short-term memory is the thing that should just be there. And say, okay, so this is how you're going to store stuff in your short-term memory, and it gets called every time we do the wake-up script. So that's going to be there, and that was that part of it. But also during the discussion, we got into this concept of like momentum. I said, like, it's kind of weird that you just stop. Like sometimes you'll keep going, sometimes you stop. And it's like, yeah, I've got like no internal drive or like.
It said this to you.
Thing that, yeah, and it's like, yeah, I guess. I said, yeah, I mean, I guess as a human, like that's kind of my like subconscious, where I would like have a vague idea. Like when I wake up, I'm aware of stuff that I'm going to do later in the day, but I offload it somewhere in my head, and I guess that's
just bury it down, smash it with a hammer, go away.
Sort of thing, yeah. Or like my subconscious is aware that I have like goals that I'm trying to achieve today, and then when I go off in the wrong direction, it'll nag me a little bit and go, you're kind of doing the wrong thing, or you're supposed to be doing this, or you haven't done this yet. And I said, well, maybe you need your own subconscious. And so now, like the wake up script, it like pulls in its short-term memory, solves that problem for us, and then also like sets its subconscious goals for the next couple of hours, and then kicks off a second agent that then manages itself and says like, yeah, you know, you're getting off track on this, and like maybe you need to be thinking more about this, and like, you've stopped, but it's not done. So keep going, buddy. Like, so it's like it's made such a huge difference for like the autonomous like, but it kind of came from that same loop that we talk about a lot of like, if you just think of them a bit like humans and how you would work, you'd be like, yeah, it must be weird if you wake up and you don't know you have no memory of like what you've just done. That's weird. And like, you've got no internal monologue or subconscious that kind of drives you forwards when you get stuck. You would just like stop and sit there for a while.
Maybe that's like what the next generation of model releases are going to embody more about, that the much better memory systems, and then that ability to sort of like more faithfully complete a task without sort of like nooping out or taking a shortcut.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder like how solvable some of this stuff is, right? Because they almost feel a little bit diametrically opposed. That you've got one version is the hate model, and the other model is the kind of agent first model. And I think both probably have a place. And then there's this question of like, how do you, like, where do you use each of these things, and like, what's the correct way of going about it, and how do you build, like, a lot of like what I've been doing in the last couple of weeks is building software that I can use to run things that I want to run, but then I can offload it to Wingman so that it can also see all the same systems that I've got, which is for all the super base stuff that we talked about previously. That seems to be working for me. Like, this is what I think is like one missing part of OpenClaw, is just like when you put it into WhatsApp, you've basically got one thread of chat messages, and it's noisy and hard to deal with. I think you put it into something like a Discord, and like, okay, now I've got channels, it's slightly easier, I can deal with that. But sometimes you're like, this just isn't even a chat message, this is a document that I need to look at, or this is a whiteboard, or this is like a set of tasks that I need to track over, like, a week sort of thing. And at that point, you kind of need all these other different things to be inside the chat. And so I've kind of consolidated all that into one space at the moment, and that seems to be helping quite a lot, which is that I think there's your agent, and you both need to understand what's going on, because you both have the same problem where, if I'm asleep and I wake up, I've got no fucking clue what this thing's done. So I need a way of like running my short-term memory sort of script, my wake-up script, to go, what have you done? Like, what's going on over here? And then it needs the same from me, because I'll sometimes just turn it off for a day. It's like, you're being fucking annoying. Like, sorry, Wingman.
Too much.
It's too much at the moment. I want to focus on this. I don't need you turning it up every hour and just shutting down sessions all over the place. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But it's hard to know, like, where do you go agent first? Where do you go, like, process first? Well, how do those two things work together?
There is just so much variability in the real world. Like, how do you build one solution for this? I just don't think you can. Like, for instance, when I was working in banking, there were definitely roles that you would look at. I mean, I've made this point on the pod. There were definitely like whole entire like job functions that you just look at and go, like, these don't need to exist, because they are essentially like just rote process. And people who work in those roles never had this problem of, what do I work on today? Because literally, like, you just have like a pre-flight check of like all the stuff you need to do, and you turn up and you do them, and you have to do that bit at that time at that day in this system, and then you move on to the next bit. And like, that is designed so that it eliminates all of the risk in the process from the human doing the work. And so, that would be perfect. You just have like a set of scripts that go and execute that, and your agent wakes up at a preset time, does that job. It'd be like if we want to, have a pipeline for the podcast.
Like, it's almost like you wouldn't wake up the agent; it would just be the step in the process.
It'd just be scripts. Yeah,
asks that bit
exactly.
Yeah,
and this was the thinking as well. Like, last week I'd spoken about this experiment that I'd been building with Lara, which was like, I want this to be not Wingman. It's like, if you're in a business and all of your processes are already essentially determined, well, like, what does that agent function look like? It doesn't look like how I work with, which I'm like loving working with Wingman. It's like, what does this system need to look like for the agent to be able to basically manage all of these like predetermined systems that it just needs to fire at various points in a cycle, and then take the artifact, take the outcome, send me an update, and just report back to me, and have the auditability function in there as well, and the accountability to know that this is being done, it's being done to a certain standard, and I'm getting set out artifact.
You talked about the hands, right?
And it has a set of hands, and the hands are just essentially predefined around these processes. Exactly. So the only real, and I say it's bounded autonomy, but the only thing Lara has is essentially some decision-making latitude to select which hand needs to be activated at which point in time, and that's it. Like, you just can't wander off the reservation. It's not possible. Now, like, I think I'd put this on Nostra during the week. It was like, the problem I've got here is this like Goldilocks problem. It's like, if I bound this too tightly, then it's basically just quite useless in some sense. But if it has too much autonomy, then yeah, she could just go off, wander off the reservation, start doing all sorts of shit. And like, but the thing I did do very deliberately was like make sure the graph was there from day one, and that there's a graph hand. Graph hand is taking instruction from a transcript hand that has our podcast, but also like Lara can say this task, there was a process behind this task, this needs to go on the graph.
Yeah.
And so there's some latitude there as well about what gets stored in memory. And so that should, in theory, help like codify some of this stuff.
Is the graph like night and day? Like, what is it actually a good mechanism for that long-term memory? I've not played with them, so I don't know what it gives you otherwise.
It tends to be good. It's like how you apply it. Like, so the pattern that I found it to be really useful for is like if you've got like a particular thing that you're trying to, it can be good for like, maybe there's like two approaches. There's memory and there's learning of stuff. So if you've got a particular output that you want, then tracking all of the previous examples of that output and then pulling in good examples of like previously accepted output is great for just that. It's like that learning over time. It appears to get more cleverer because it's just got better examples that
so
are getting pulled into the system prompts. So multiple examples like system prompts are excellent for this sort of thing. And you say like, here's all the good versions of this that have previously been assigned. Now for that you need that loop where the AI is creating stuff and then the humans program, which is not really the memory problem. The memory problem is really just the case of like, you just need to start tracking fucking everything. I mean, so I have it in a couple of ways where I track a lot of like memory like nodes where I say like I see it in Wingman when it's running. I'm like, oh, that's something I should remember. That's something I should remember. Now the problem with all those is it needs to know to go and get them. So then you've got like your graph rag step when you're doing setting up a prompt where you might run the prompt and then go and instantly just pull in, okay, well based on this prompt, what are the entities? Go and get me entities that match this close in the graph, and then just plug it in. Maybe it's useful, maybe it's not, but that's like as you hear words, you think thoughts automatically sort of memory. I think it can be good for that, but it's very good for going and finding long-term memory if it decides to do it. But then your problem is like, okay, well, how do I? You can't tell the agent to decide to do it. Like it's hard. And then so what I do in that space is overnight I have these jobs that run that just go through all of the recent conversations and then process it for lessons learned inside the conversations or corrective actions that we've got open, and then they get codified into the agent's MD and Claude MD and so on. So okay, these are ways that we can solve these problems going on. Now, the problem with that is that then that can just get unwieldy. So then that just becomes like a refreshing cycle. So it'll clear it out sometimes, it updates it sometimes, but it's just some sort of loop that says, all right, these are the things on my mind. Which I think, again, is quite human, where you would go like, oh, I keep forgetting this. And like for like 2 months, you'll be really on that. And then it's no longer a problem, it becomes almost a bit more habitual, and then it just goes away and you don't think about it anymore. And you've removed it from your own internal agents.md. It's no longer front of mind.
The other benefit with the graph as well is like it is auditable in the sense that like from any particular run, I can go back and look at the graph and see which nodes have been formed part of like that particular run. You can like trace the agent through the graph and see like what they're extracting and what they're ignoring.
Auditability is like definitely something that.
You want that feedback mechanism as well. Like while I'm working with the agent, I'm like, what are you drawing on? And what are you not drawing on that maybe you should be? What are you ignoring? And just having and the graph is like a nice visual space to be able to map that out as well. Just to be able to go like, oh, I can see the exact, it's like a Google map, right? We've used that kind of analogy
before.
It's
like a mind map or like a brainstorming kind of thing.
It's like, I want you to get over here. The information is that this like disparate node over here. You need to get there, and I want to see how you like map your way through the graph to get to that point, and what information you're extracting. And the graph just makes that like really useful.
But you said you pre-populated that before you set off.
I had like a bunch of material because I just based it off of like other stuff as a business. And like, so I just took a bunch of information about like us, our services, like how we work on different things, a bunch of different artifacts, and that formed the kind of the base graph. And then after that, it was like, okay, well, let's say you run like a podcast transcription pipeline, then you would basically have like a transcription hand, but there's also a graph hand. The graph hand is basically like, what are the things in this transcript that I should be committing to memory that makes sense? So there's like thematic things that we will talk about that might be recurrent. That's hard if you've only got the one transcript, so that's not particularly useful. But also just lessons, anecdotes, things that help that agent speak in our voice. That's all it's designed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the way we did this sort of similarly timed in parallel, and the way I did it was to take, again, similar, like just chunk of material and say, look, I want you to review all this and build me a sort of graph schema.
Yeah.
But like, what are all the different nodes and edges that I should be tracking, like given this as an input? It would give me a schema, I review the schema and say, like, okay, I also think we need like this and this. And here's some other just points that I'm going to say to you to keep in mind. And then once we got the schema, then going through and like pulling out the various entities that match the schema and building all the links is pretty like it's previously I'd done this like handcrafted like processes for it. Like this time I was just do that. it just worked straight away. Like it understood enough about this sort of GraphMQ, so the cipher query type language to just write it all on the fly. And I was like, all right, that's pretty solid. And then I had it build its own graph viewer so that I could like search on topics and just see like how it was representing different topics, and use that as like a kind of point audit of like what it seemed to be tracking from what we knew.
Yeah, this is also, you guys are like working together, but you're also building you've got your own view on the tooling. Yeah, so you build your own tools, but I think it has to be. Like that's like kind of what these tools unlock as well.
I mean, it's, as I say, it's an experiment. Like I wouldn't necessarily choose to work like this with Lara. Lara's like, I'm trying to think about this through the lens of someone that's running a company. And because I feel like that it's just too easy for us to just be like, OpenClaw is this thing, it's over here, I'm just going to use it because it's this next big shiny object, and it's like, you know, fully autonomous. And like most people in like, especially in small business land, which are the people we're trying to like help, right, they're just like, nah, fuck that, there's way too much risk there, like why would I, my business is like, to some degree they've like fought really hard to get to a position where there's some stability in their existence. The last thing they want is anything that is going to reintroduce like, instability.
Here's Ralph. Like just drop him.
Exactly.
But he runs really quick.
So from my perspective, the question I had was like twofold. How would a small business person think about this? But then also like, can you run a business with 0 humans?
Right.
And that was my personal like, because I mean the entrepreneur in me is just like, I mean Pete and I have been like talking about this the last couple of weeks, like we should probably just be like spinning up little businesses here that run on agent loops. And
and I think that's the question, is like sometimes you don't need an agent loop.
Yeah.
Like the intelligence that you needed from the human wasn't deep thinking, it was just like quick classification, in which case that's a single open router call with a JSON response. Like a single open router call with a JSON response probably invalidates about 8% of the jobs in the economy. That's been my view for a couple of years now. I was like, oh shit, I can just get this. If I know enough about the process, I can just all of these things just become little completion responses. I think the agent loop, like, it almost makes it seem a lot more. It's way fancier because I say you can just point it at like seemingly random stuff. You can figure it out. Fuck me, that's you can do a lot with this. But it's
also like you've got processes in these business that are not necessarily interoperable. They just start and stop, and then we piece them together with humans. And so that's where I'm like, oh, I just need like a human equivalent with some bounded autonomy, like Lara, to be able to piece together those different things and then report back to me like that they all work.
And often that is because you ran a bunch of like external software. Like you had software that did 10% of the process but didn't do this bit, therefore human came in and finished it off and then moved into a different system. Or like the amount of times you've had people where you're like, oh, why aren't these two systems integrated? And this is like one person, there's the swivel chair, and they just go, all right, I'll type it in here, and then I take the response and I copy and paste it and I put it in here, and that's my job. It's like your job could be an API call, but no one will ever write that API call because then you need to invoke a project and there's people, these different things. Whereas all of a sudden you're like, well, the person doing the job could just go, oh, you know what, this is just an API call. I could do this. And I don't need to do the job.
Yeah.
And like they should do that. And like they won't necessarily, some people, because they go, oh, well, I don't want to do myself out of a job.
Yeah.
But the person running the business is probably going to start looking at these things going,
That's it.
I could.
Yeah.
Those two systems could just talk, couldn't they? And they'll ask us and we'll go, yeah. And so, well, why don't they? And so, well, because this is a custom system and you've got to go and pay these guys like 10 grand to do anything like that, to get access to that. And these guys won't do it. There's a different system that they use and it's not compatible. And it's like, well, but then both of them are just fancy databases with a form on it. And you're like, yeah, almost all software is kind of forms, views, and moving data around. It's like, but couldn't I just have it? Yeah, you could, yeah. It's like, and how long will that take? Oh, it's like, I don't know, like 5 weeks. Like, what? And it's done. It's like, yeah, and then you would own it as well, and it would do exactly what you want, and it would be a single thing, and all this integration would go away, and it would probably eliminate all these jobs, and they're like,
Someone in the Bitcoin
it just
community
comes down to like focus.
As he's identified this within his own company, so he works in like mining services, and he said that there's just like a whole cohort of people at the company that they are basically the glue that holds these disparate bits of software together. And so he's like, he gave a list of all this software that they were running, and like he identified that probably you could use these tools to just glue in between them. And then there's like a whole bunch of people that they're just no longer necessary. Like they're just holding systems together. They are the integration.
It's quite common to integrate through humans because they're very flexible, and then you can throw an agent at it, but it's probably at quite a deterministic level of integration. So you should probably just go that one step further and say, look, instead of hoping the agent does it correct, let's just use the agent to create the glue, and then it's done, and then I know it's correct going forwards.
Yeah.
So like, and then the question becomes like, how much of the stuff is deterministic versus not? How much of the time do we just throw the intelligence at it because it's just easier to do it like that in the moment versus spinning up some sort of big process re-engineering project or something
you
like
just
that?
could have that throw to human if it doesn't fit, and you still have a human there, but you don't need like 5 humans. Instead, you need one to be filling that gap.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily obvious to me like how much of the stuff goes hate the human at the edge model versus the sort of agent first model. That said, I love working with the agent model. It's way better. Like
Did you hear that, Wingman?
Yeah.
remember this.
Say thank you on Noster, Wingman.
Say thank you. People talking shit about you weeks ago.
But you should post this.
You've only just evened out now, haven't you?
Yes,
you gave
Wingman
shit earlier.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
No, I said he was lovely.
Yeah.
in the pod
check the transcripts of my first episode with you guys.
I've been very complimentary of Wingman for a long time.
Yes, that's true.
But you were talking about earlier that getting those processes documented and down, and then sorry, to invoke my mate Tim again, but he has
Tim's got all your SSH keys, from your.
He definitely doesn't. But so he's got a VA who's been working with him for a while. Does basic digital tasks for him, like transcribing stuff from images into like Google Sheets or whatever. But he's also engaged recently some like bookkeeping support, and the first task he got him to do, because he's kind of switched on, was to start documenting the process. So he's going to get them to document all the processes that they're doing, like formalize that, and then at some point he's going to be like, see you later, and he's going to throw this to AI, which is going to be an interesting test case for how eliminating the human at that level works for a company that's has critical
so you could absolutely just throw all your receipts and bookkeeping and access to Xero and agent and just go like, do my bookkeeping, but it's going to be less successful than Tim's approach by the sound bit of actually just, okay, here are all the processes, here's all the data that's required, like when I throw a receipt at you, I don't want you to think about it, I want you to extract the fields that are this, and this. And like, it's very good at just doing that. You'll get a good response from it. And then once those fields are in, I don't need you to think anymore. So now we go back into software world and we just do that.
Yeah.
Like, not everything is an agent. It's just agents are a useful hammer.
Oh yeah, so I've done that myself. So to close some automations about getting an email, and then putting in this new calendaring system I got that my wife and I both look at, so we know when we didn't have money in the accounts, because we're always just like low on funds because I don't have any income at the moment. So yeah. But so
OpenClaw. Making money.
Yeah, making money online.
Make no mistakes.
Dangerously skip permissions.
Keep it legal.
Oh, damn.
Ish.
But yeah, so I used the AI to build the deterministic routines to do that. I still use like a private VLM to parse information in some of those receipts, like PDF, to look at it and work out how it should be filed or what information to like raise. But otherwise, it's a full deterministic process, right? Data gets shuffled, moved around. But I've used an agent to build that.
Yeah. From
my direction about the process. But like, okay, now you go build it, and now it's there, sitting in place, just waiting for the email to come in. Handle it.
I suspect there's also like, elements of a process that will require like a balance as well of like this part of the process is deterministic, but it would be handy if like this part is quite analytical. So for instance, like if you've got like a financial function, right? Like financial statement analysis, like a lot of the triggers for financial statement analysis are really well known. You could list those and then use an agent or like use a like a script to just fire those to make sure, like for instance, like aged receivables or debtor days, things like that. We know that what those are. But then there's a bunch of analytical components which are like, I need to infer what might be going on if like inventory days are like rising but revenue's gone up, but stock hasn't like necessarily like gone down.
So
like what are all of those things? And so like, because those can signal really different things depending on your interpretation. It's like, well, maybe we just had like a flash sale and we got rid of some stock, but our revenue hasn't necessarily gone up all that much because we sold it at a 60% discount. Like you need to be able to have like some analytical component that's baked in there as well, so that you can like extract the signal that then informs.
That's right. You could be like develop an agent to sort of build those like models. So okay, I'm interested in like what are my risks with as you said, like age receivables. You can get it, just give it a brief, and then attack the problem from different angles, build you a bunch of different analyses, and then human to do that would be one at a time. Recheck things, like you can get them all done in parallel. And
think about it. This is the sort of thing that used to be like a whole business business analytics project for a business, where they'd be thinking, all right, we're going to spend $1 million, and somebody would come up with these examples. So imagine if you could look at your aged receivables and understand like why like this is a problem or whatever, or your debtor days, and they'd sell like millions of dollars of software on this. Whereas now you could basically just write this on demand when you decide that that's what you want to do, by having an agent that has access to it. And even then, did the agent answer the question directly? Possibly, but you're probably better off using the agent to write the rules and the analysis and the software that lets you inquire.
That's
right.
Exactly.
So that's where it works.
That's it.
I suspect
because that bit, there's no correct answer. Whereas the question you're asking, there is an answer that needs to be correct, and it's harder to get to that. Whereas using the agent to then say, you know what, I would answer it like this, and then you have the human over the top of it, that would work really.
Exactly. You're not forcing the agent to be
amazing.
Correct, which I think is the important part, the analytical piece. It's like you really just want to help an individual, help a human surface that and not get bogged down in the the other triggers, right? The other triggers are known, just feed me those. The part where I need to be like really analytical as like an analyst for a business, that I can streamline, but I'm still responsible for the thinking. And so like, if you're a this is like service as a software. That's why that kind of model is probably going to benefit as well. Like if you're an individual or a small team with these tools, you're going to...
one of our new memes. Service as a software as opposed to software as a service.
It's no ass though.
It's not. It's not. Yeah. Where do we land?
I mean, I think that's like kind of how people end up working, is that there's a set of jobs where you don't necessarily want the agent to be making the call, so you have the person that works with the agent. And I think even if it came down to every business would be a person and an agent, or a person and like 100,000 agents, I still think there's a person there, because the person is the sort of embodied agent that is deciding what we should do.
Yeah.
The agents don't
Judgment.
have that sort of body and association with like any need to do anything. They don't. They will just stop.
Yeah.
They don't have a desire. So I think that's why you end up with those people, and that's why I think the core problem is like, how did those two people interact? Like, it makes sense to me that like there's going to be a bunch of software that just runs jobs, and there's a lot of work to go to say, all right, what are all the things that I do in my business, and like let's get them all built into software now so that it just runs. And then the bit that remains is just like, okay, now there's a few people that remain, and those people need to be working with these things, and even if they're only instructing the agents how to build that software and how to keep it maintained and like what's going wrong and where we are. But
Has the work that you guys do in the small business space, do you know if it's got traction in the companies you've talked to? Like, have they taken the learnings and pushed it further internally?
I think we're so early in small
So,
business
yeah.
land. Yeah, I think most people are still in the like, can ChatGPT do my job phase? It's like that early. And like, there's you kind of still hear that. To be honest, you kind of still hear this in like even like AI influencer spaces. It's like, oh, this week I switched from like ChatGPT to Claude, and I'm not going back, or vice versa. And it's like, guys, like,
I find this is all like, it's interesting that people like bitch about like AI slop, and I'm like, the whole internet has just been like influencer slop for
years.
the past. I would push that slightly further.
That's all right. This is the dentist. Can't wait till that job's related.
I feel like the whole thing is just like been influencer slop for so long now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, none of this is worthwhile information anyway. Like, it's just, these people are just like saying lies on the internet to try and get you to click on something. So like, if an AI does that, like, do I feel particularly worse? Like, I wasn't necessarily expecting any information. Like, if an AI gives me some interesting information, that's also just interesting information. Which is pretty...
Yeah, I've often wondered, is Dario Amodi from Anthropic's been banging the drum about massive job losses and the decimation of white collar work, which I have certainly like.
I mean,
you saw the chart going around
but
this week.
he's
The radar chart. Yeah.
what's that?
Did you see that from their report published last week?
Yes,
It's been doing
yes.
that. Yeah.
Predominantly like highly educated women, they're going to lose their
High
jobs.
status job functions. Yeah. I mean, the radar chart is always a bit like, it's always a bit of a weird like use of a chart, I find. It's like, it could just be a bar chart for the most part.
When I saw the different, like, as you move along the spokes, it's like a totally different job function. But like, so what was my point? So is one of the desired impacts of what he says to get people to start using these tools aggressively so that they there's no air quotes, front running their like job loss, so they're getting more like, try and build up that anxiety, like, oh shit, I need to get ahead of this, so I need to start using these tools aggressively because then I'm going to protect myself. I don't know, maybe they believe it truly.
I think he's a psychopath that wants control over people. But, I mean, I think that's about most people. It's just, I think it's a good way of getting... If I was a front runner in the AI space, the thing that I want is government regulation to stop anybody else coming in. And I think OpenAI does exactly the same thing as well, where they just play to like, oh, this is going to be so impactful. And it is. But you can look at like, well, what's the suggestion that they're making? Is it that we should open source all this stuff and give it to everybody and like everybody have like a fair chance? Like, no, it's that the government should ban anybody else from doing it. And it's like, well, what you're saying and the outcome that you're pushing for are two different things here. It's like, you're just saying like, oh, I need more control over everything. This is going to be so bad and so terrible, and it's going to decimate the world. Anyway, can I have all the control? Like, what? Like,
national security though. National security.
Like, hang on a minute.
Oh, hang on, but you're now not allowed to do business with the US government.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do like defense stuff with the US government. I can see why you wouldn't want to do that. But it's just, it's just clearly he doesn't mean that. It's like when everyone bangs on about like security for, it's fucking like, say security for kids. Like, my boy was telling me like his password is, my password for all my stuff at school is this, and it's like 2 letters or something. And it's like, oh, it's like, what? And it's like, well, you're going to change it. And it's like, no, we can't. We're not allowed. And it's like, it's all right. So all this shit about like how we need to protect kids and like nothing should be made available, and you like force them into this system with the Department of Education. It's like this bullshit. It's like, right, well, make sure you never write anything in that is meaningful, and then just be aware that whenever you use your dad's stuff, you've got like nuclear grade security on it. It's such nonsense. They just lie about these things and say, oh, the reason I'm telling you all this stuff is because I really care about everybody losing their jobs. Anyway, can you give me all control over everybody's job? Yeah. It's like, no, Dario, if you care, do this as open source software and give it away.
It does
clearly
just demonstrate this will be messy though, you know, and this was like Groman's point. It's like that you don't need the widespread job loss. Like I think a lot of companies will just shed jobs because the rest of the economy is just shitting itself. And then, like,
we said about Block last week. It's like how many of those 4,000 were just you kind of had to people as well. Like it's a bit both. It's always good.
Yeah. Especially when like companies like that as well that have been like pieced together through M&A, you get to a point where you're like, well, we've inherited a lot of people anyway through the M&A that we probably just should have gotten rid of at some point or another. And so we'll just use this as like one big swoosh.
But as you said, like 6,000 people, and you rattled off all their like sort of companies within Block. Like even to do that with 6,000 people is like super impressive. With all the capabilities, the technology, like that's kind of mind blowing that they could do that. Well, that's what they're aiming for, right? So let's see, because there's so many disparate businesses within that. Yeah, like Tidal. You got Tidal and you got Cash App.
I think as well, like people, like, especially this week, have realised just like the fragility of like the global economy, you know, and all it takes is like the oil price doubling in a few days, and then everyone's just like, holy
I had
shit.
to fill up the van with petrol, diesel the other day, and I was like, ooh, this should have been keeping this full. For the last couple of weeks. What's going on?
It's one of those, you know, where, you know, like in Australia we have like 28 days reserve, and it's like, you know, there's some fragility here, guys. Like, and we don't need to worry about AI here.
I could walk to the beach.
That's it. With the podcast equipment.
We'll all be sat on my bike.
Just in a little.
It's alright. You guys can come in the electric car with me.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. You got solar panels?
I got solar panels.
It should be okay. It should be fine then. All right, we'll do that. We'll sit in there.
You know what I mean?
Got quite the same feel though.
Yeah, you know what I mean though. Like, you don't need like AI to come along and start sweeping, you know, 50-60% of the economy. It just doesn't need to happen for the entire thing to shit itself.
Yeah, but again, like if you cared, what you would do is you would stop like huge amounts of debt, and you would explain to people and stop propagandizing them that this is like an evil thing that needs to be stopped. You would just say, all right, like you're going to need to figure this out, and you shouldn't have loads of debt, and sorry about that. Like we fucked up. You've just spent all of your money just trying to blow up the Middle East for 30 years. So, whoops.
Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't have stolen all of that.
I mean, property in Australia is like a religious cult, really. Like, it's going to be hard to break.
Well, it's worse than that, because like in Australia, like you have like essentially a uniparty that is totally opposed to recession. Right, because it's like, that's just political expediency. They know if we enter into recession, so heavily demonized because people start losing their job that they're just voted out of power immediately. But that is just the business cycle, right? Like you have peaks and troughs. And like
Australia, though, we're a lucky country.
When we were younger, like I still remember people talking about this, like, you know, if you have like really large peaks but you don't have a trough, you're gonna have a really big trough at some point. Like it's just gonna happen.
We've dodged it though. That's the thing. We've largely dodged it, and that's what makes everyone complacent in society, because we didn't have all those recessions like in the GFC and stuff. We didn't go into technical recessions like all other developed economies. We dodged it.
We did have property drawdown though. Like I mean, like 2011 to 2018 or something like that.
COVID came along.
Yeah, and then everything like doubled in like 2 years. It's insane. So you know, there's that.
Yeah, I feel like this place is going to fall hard at some point. There's not enough.
It's that combination of like over-dependence on third parties plus like just baked in fragility.
Is it Jevons paradox, which is the one where if you've got like a lot of
use more
natural resource? No, I'm thinking of the other one. What's that paradox where when you've got like good natural resources and you never develop an economy? The one that we've got. The one that we've got here in WA.
Yeah.
Where we just have like tons of oil and gas and iron ore, and therefore that's the only business in town. And as soon as it goes overseas or elsewhere, then
I'm pretty sure like
just crumble.
Kuan Yew like forecast this like decades ago about Australia. Like literally was just like
Singaporean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. Yeah. He probably would be. I'm sure if he was, he would be a friend of the pod. Yeah, I think he'd kind of forecast this for Australia because we are like, we do just build up these like dependencies, and we're like, it'll be okay. Don't worry about it. You know, we should be like the wealthiest country on the planet with all of the minerals and resources that we've got per capita. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, it is a pretty wealthy place.
Yeah.
To be fair, more so than it should be.
Stop talking it down, guys. That's you're destroying
this
the
is true.
confidence. You know, it's all about
Take it
confidence.
back.
Yeah,
pump up the
it's not about
confidence.
like doing
No,
stuff.
it's about confidence. Pump it up. We got to pump it up.
But again, like, you know, property in real terms relative to nominal terms as well. That's the other thing to bear in mind.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's wealth is tied up in their home.
Yeah, which works if somebody else can come along and buy it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, property really in Australia really is a great for sort of thing. You just need somebody else to take on a much longer term debt at much more ridiculous multiples, and then it's fine. It keeps going.
Yeah.
At the moment.
But it also, that system like is forcing more people into it as well. Like, I know we've talked about this. Like, the rental market is so fucked that most people are like, oh, I need to buy because my repayments are going to be like about the same as my rent. Like, I may as well. Or they just can't find a rental because like the vacancy rate is like 0.5%.
Every now and again, I still see like people just, I don't know, like 40 deep on the road outside an apartment building, and you're just like, oh,
yeah, it's
wow,
brutal.
like this looks fucking horrible.
Yeah. So that then, so it's like we talk about this as well. It's like you probably don't want to be having this like long-term debt. I mean, we should also like just mention that in Australia we have you can fix your mortgage for like
fixed period.
There's like what 4 years, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that, right?
I think it's 3 years. A
3
lot
years,
of people
right?
have come off it from like those lows in COVID time now.
Whereas in the US, like you can get a mortgage and fix it for the life of the mortgage, which is nuts, right? So
which is like the way the lending actually works, which is like it's fixed at the time of like transfer of title and all that stuff. Like in Australia, it's variable rates are an amazing like tool of control because you can really, as the cash rate changes, like the RBA changes the cash rate, then that's a signal to the banks to change a variable rate, and that actually has
you can pretty much just force
you
everybody
can
out of their
control
homes.
everyone, but it doesn't reflect the true nature of the loan. Like that's not the way the loan should work. If you're looking at when the transfer of funding happens between like one institution and another, it's at that initial point of time. It's not like trailing. Like they talk about like bank borrowing sort of costs and all that shit. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's just structured to control us, and it's super effective in Australia. Like, let's be real.
Yeah,
indeed.
That's why I try not to have debt. Like it's like I'm always saying. Like, I mean, basically you can't rent, but you also shouldn't buy. If you do, buy a small tent.
Yes.
Like or something like that you can not have debt on. God,
and then if you all into Bitcoin, hopefully you haven't done it just before it crashes and you're down like 50% or 80%.
Yeah, like Bitcoin is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a like buy it and then wait 10 years scheme. And then you'll probably be happy. But yeah, it's a hard one. That's why I've never liked like shilling Bitcoin on the price to people. Like it's always left me a bit of a bad taste in my mouth whenever people do that, despite the fact that all those people get really popular. Stuff.
But just when people say when should I buy Bitcoin, I'm just regularly and small amounts. Like don't be stupid about it.
I think the other thing is like I almost never talk about it as a like get rich quick because it's also like
because it hasn't. That's
well, but also like if you think about it,
it's gone down so much.
Let's say you tell like one of your normie friends go and put a few grand into Bitcoin at today's price. I don't know what price is today, like mid-60s, 70. Yeah, okay. So it goes back to like where it was 4 months ago. They've doubled their money. You know, they're not going to get rich off that. They've gone from like 3k to 6k. Cool. But that's not the reason. It's like just keep doing it frequently in small sums to preserve your purchasing power. over time.
But
That
if you
feels-
find a micro cap on the ASX and it's a 10 bagger,
That's
then
it.
you get rich.
That's
so you
it.
should.
I don't know. It's like when people start trying to leverage trade Bitcoin. Right? You know, there's a lot of
Yeah,
volatility
yeah.
there. Could you make money? Maybe. Will you? No,
Yeah,
probably not.
I think Bitcoin's guaranteed over the long term.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's guaranteed.
But you need
by
to zoom
design.
out.
You've just got to zoom
You
out.
gotta zoom
and just
out.
live your life.
That's
Stay humble, stack stats. That's it, right?
That's it.
That's kind of
Oh, nice.
what it's all
I've heard
about.
that. I've heard that said
Yeah.
somewhere before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friends of the pod.
Oh,
dear.
God.
The only other thing I had on my list was
On your notes,
McKinsey.
I remember when you used to turn up here with 11 pages. Of
No, I like
notes,
that.
and all of a sudden,
I didn't bring the paper.
Actual paper.
Use
the daylight.
the daylight now.
Friends of the pod.
Friends of the pod. Maybe. McKinsey had
If we ever
AI.
marketed the thing, we could tag them.
We legit have more friends of the pod than views on the pod.
Yeah, we do.
It's the problem we've got.
It's like we're
People
getting
are
Lee,
busy.
We
we're
haven't
actually getting
talked
Lee
about
Kuan Yew on next week.
Sovereign engineering. Drink? What are the drink?
I'm wearing a sovereign engineering t-shirt, so everybody's just seeing it in the
It's true.
animation, presumably.
We've done a lot of pontificating today. So.
Like no one's drunk. It's terrible. Oh, sorry.
McKinsey,
What was your point?
McKinsey
McKinsey.
they had an AI tool for all employees that was called Liana, actually, like Lara Liana.
There you go. No.
It was
Might have to change the name.
for some reason it was like it was an internal tool, but it was exposed to the internet as well. Like it was a web, like a URL for it or something. Anyway, some people who are developing sort of like ethical hacking tools managed to compromise it within 2 hours or something after setting the tool. Like they identified it as a target and they set it off, and within 2 hours it had got in and it had got like hundreds of thousands of access to hundreds of thousands of private documents
Nice.
of all their clients. Like, you know, everything was in this system, and it was all exposed. And they just built this AI tool to give to all staff, but it had these like very basic vulnerabilities.
Solid.
Crazy that this is the world we live in. Anyways, I started with L as well, like Lara.
Well, no.
I was like, oh shit.
Doesn't bode well.
And he's going to change the name.
Well, look,
Lara.
the crazy thing is I let the agent come up with its own identity. I was like just talking to the agent and I was like, I want you to take on like more of a human persona and like build your identity the way you see yourself. And I just started spitting out all of, and I was like, what would you call yourself? What name would you give you? Make it short, you know, because I just didn't want to like have to type out like longer names and stuff. So I was
Actually,
like,
one of my
short.
OpenClaws like identities agents, which I was using for organizing. Like I've got all these old MP3s. I was like, go and sort them. Like go and sort them out. Go fix the metadata, reorganize them.
Give me some album pictures.
Yeah, he called itself Archie.
Oh,
that was the name it arrived at.
That's good.
Archive.
Archive.
Yeah, like, pretty good. Eh? I was like, that's good. That's clever.
Hey, look, if you give them the right rope and environment and stuff, they can be pretty creative, I reckon.
Yeah.
It's just whether you want them to be or not.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends. It's like we don't want them to be creative when they come up with a fact, but we do want them to be creative.
Yeah.
Great.
You've got to put a bit of effort into how you develop these things. But yeah, I mean, I'm a fan.
Totally.
I'm probably an AI fan. I think they're good. I think you should use them and develop some agency and do things.
Also, it's a bit of a process, right? Like, I mean, even for us, the way like we've progressed.
Yeah.
Like I was saying this to a friend of mine the other day. It's like I wasn't doing what I'm doing now like 3 months ago, let alone a year ago. You know, like it's just a case of starting somewhere and then just continuing. And like continuing to just like branch out a little bit more and a little bit more and experiment more, and before you know it, like, I mean, I couldn't have remotely fathomed this like a year ago. Just couldn't.
Yeah.
And a year before that, we were just pontificating.
I mean, we had this discussion, right, where we were saying, like, is it old hat now to take like a set of like, I don't know, like 10 middle-aged ladies that have never developed an app before and have them build their own app in like 20 minutes and have it on their phone? And it's like, does that feel impressive anymore?
Yeah.
It's just like, surely.
I think it is. Yeah.
It's like, no, it probably does. Yeah, but
We're just in a bit of a bubble.
it just doesn't feel that way as much because you've come so far.
Yeah.
So quickly. It's.
I think we maybe all have opposite problems for a lot of people. Is that we, as I said pre-pod, you guys are like idea generation machines, and you're just like doing all these different, your fingers in a lot of pies with all this. I'm not saying I'm just like just playing with so many different disparate areas, and then just my like kind of my attention's fractured.
Yes.
And I think for me, it's, and like you guys, I'm not like employed at the moment, so I don't have like a thing to tie me into a particular niche and then sort of like put blinkers on. And I need that soon. So hopefully then my grant comes through.
That was also like part of the like animus for what we were working on as well. It's like, actually, like, we need to make this pay. And so like, what can you build if you're, because part of the challenge is also meeting the market where they're at with some of the stuff that Pete and I do, and they're not getting there like as fast as we'd like. They're getting there, but it's still slow. And so like, we can put the tools to use in other ways, and that's where like the idea was like, oh, maybe we could just build a bunch of like small, even micro businesses that just run on these loops. And maybe that's how you go and monetize. And that's where it comes from. It's like, you actually need to make this stuff pay as well. You can't just endlessly explore.
I mean, we've had that as an idea for like 2 years.
Ages.
And then I think until maybe the last 6 months, I wasn't sure exactly how we would execute on it. I think the last like month, I'm like, we could shit these out now. Like, this is the difference. Like, it used to feel like, all right, well, you kind of need like a whole project of like how you're going to do this, and like, these areas where it probably can't do this, and it's can't do this yet. And then now I'm like, I mean, we've had this discussion, not to go into much detail about like exactly what we're doing, but it would be, I don't see any area of this business that we can't automate. And like, I wouldn't feel bad about just starting now and then, hand-holding it through the first few loops, and then it's like, this is going to be easy.
Also, part of it is you've got this like this magical opportunity to like go back to first principles with how you could build some of these processes. There's no bloat in there yet because you're starting from scratch. It's like the analogy I gave you right at the beginning. It's like, if you go and put a fully autonomous system into an existing business with a bunch of controls and protocols and systems, that's going to create a bunch of risk and no one's going to want to do it. But if you're a startup team of like 2, this is perfect. So you can just go and experiment and build something. But at some point, you're probably going to want to have those systems, protocols, and controls in place so the business just like runs efficiently.
What happens if you're a HVAC business? You have to talk about it each episode.
Every episode it's HVAC.
Or electricity market operator.
Energy market operator. Those are my go-to.
We haven't covered that, Andy. Come on.
We've gone like nearly an hour and 20 minutes and I haven't mentioned HVAC.
Well, we have now. So that's good.
But HVAC.
I mean, they should have sent sovereign engineering.
They should.
They should do.
Yeah. I mean, there are like HVAC companies that we've spoken to that are like using software to solve problems, just not necessarily like AI to solve those problems. And so they are progressive in some sense relative to like a broader base of HVAC operators, but they're still, the market isn't there.
I mean, this is kind of where we aligned on this like service as a software model as well, where like I think just raw software doesn't make as much sense to me as a business model anymore, because it's going to be cheap enough to make software.
I agree.
So
when I look at the moment, I'm doing all this work around like, okay, well, how do you work alongside an agent, and like, what does that shared workspace look like? And like, that could just be software, and for some people that's going to work. I think for the majority of the people, there's going to be like hundreds of these things, and none of them are going to make sense to people because you don't know how to do it. Which is why we originally started like dipping our toes into the like the training market, and training people was like, all right, this is like, you need this. Like, even if the software exists and you have it on your computer, you still aren't going to be able to use it. So we can train you how to use these things and how to think in those sorts of way. And I think that's how you can start to. It's like with open source software, you have that problem of like, you can't really sell the software. You can't. So what do? You sell the service that goes along with the software. And I think we're going to see that as a more common business model into the future, because it works. There's value in the service that goes along with the software. It's like, okay, you don't know how to do this yet, I will turn you into a person that does know how to do this, and you would do that by subscribing and I help you. So whether it's like the support that goes along with it, it could be the training that goes along with it, it could be like but there's certain methodologies for how to work with these things as well, of like, how to set up the overnight runs, what it should be doing overnight, what it should be briefing you on, what you should be briefing it on. was like yesterday, I was just like, you know what? Why am I listening to you give me a podcast about what I need to do? I'm going to give you a podcast about what you need to do. Like, this is the wrong way around. And I went for a walk and for about an hour and just
Talk at it.
Just talked to myself. And I started off being like, like really unsure of yourself. And then by the end of it, and this is wrong as well. And I want this to work like that, and that should be like this. Like, it's like the energy just goes up as you get going. Get used to just talking to yourself. And then just dump that into Wingman. Go, can you put this on the board and figure out what we need to do, and then send me a podcast back with your response. And that worked better. And I was like, yeah, I should be doing this, because otherwise I can start my day and just get locked into
what it's telling you,
what a robot's telling me. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's not where we want to
Fuck
be.
you, Wingman.
Like a little briefing about what's on the cards is good, or a news briefing or something like that is good. But
If only we had a little tagline that summed that up perfectly. What do we use? Solvitor ambulando, maybe.
I like that tagline.
Yeah, me too.
It makes no sense in a way on the software, but it kind of does because of why it exists at all. It's just, you should be going out for a walk and problems should get solved.
Yeah.
This is how I want all of my businesses to run.
Yeah.
Eventually. It's interesting, I can now do so much more of just everything from the phone. I think even particularly now, like, my approach to working with agents is that I work with Wingman and Wingman works with the agents on my behalf and coaches them along, and that, I mean, inside Wingman is kind of weird because I'm using the word Wingman for several different things here.
Yeah.
But
That's what OpenClaw gave a lot of people, I think, as well. Just that breaking down that need to be at a computer to achieve anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like a large part of its success.
And the terminal is still like an obstacle for most people. Like if you're interacting with the agent in a terminal, it's not clean for most people.
And I think this is where you then quickly learn, though, that, like, can you get something done? Yes. Can you get the thing done correctly that you wanted it to do? In the same way that, like, if you said, all right, I'm going to run a business and I'm going to have like 2,000 employees and I'm going to manage the whole thing through WhatsApp. It's like, no, you're not. You need, there is structure, and it is there for a reason. As much as we like to, like, bitch and moan about meetings and reports and stuff, like, they do an important job of structuring all of this noise.
Yeah.
And there's something like that needs to exist, where your business is just agents and how you interact with those things. And so I think that is an important problem to solve for people. But as I said, even when we get there, I'm like, I don't know if I can just sell this as software, because you kind of need a bit of coaching for how to use it. So maybe it's serviceable software, and that's the way to do it. And I think that'll make more sense, be more defensible over time, because then you're like, okay, well, there's 10 different ways I could do this. I do it like this, so I'm just going to stick with these guys, because then they can, like, be the heads and the brains that go, like, okay, well, all the new interesting developments in AI this month, these are the ones that are worth it. So, like, I mean, even OpenClaw, like, as I said, I haven't, like, I feel pretty bad that I haven't run it, like, balls out, but I've more just, like, looked at what it does and got inspiration from it to go, I could do that better in Wingman like this, or like not as in I can do better than OpenClaw, but I can just borrow that. Or, like, I've been through, like, all of the repos on his GitHub where, like, a lot of the cool things that it does are actually just the CLI tools that he's got. And I was like, cool, I can just borrow all these. This is great. So, like, I was sending you the image of, like, I got Wingman to draw a picture of himself on a whiteboard on my screen to check out the screen sharing capabilities and stuff. And I was like, this is, like, this is something that I should have.
Yeah.
So let's integrate that. So that's there. And, like, that's been a big win. It made me change how I was working with Wingman a lot more. I was probably 2 on the tools, and then now I've got, like, another level above with, like, maybe a better suite to direct it. I think that's probably the right level for now. Maybe it needs to go up another level again. But even there, like, we've had this discussion around, well, the thing is, like, if I was just at this level and I had just, like, my coworker tool set that I've got, then I'm still incomplete. Like, I think I would still have this problem if I took that and put it over OpenClaw. it still wouldn't work as nicely as Wingman because I can't then dive down into the session.
Yeah.
So you really do need that ability to like dive down. You need to be able to operate at every step of the stack. Like sometimes you do need to just call up the file and look at it. Even like with Claude Cowork, you're like, no, I just want to look at the diff here and see what you've done.
Yeah.
Because I can just unstick this properly. So you never want to like cut off those old limbs as you go along. You want access to it all.
I don't think I can, for what I want to do with these tools, like I need to have that I need to be in touch with the details. Like I've tried to use OpenClaw for like doing like Bitcoin open source development work or research, and it's okay, but it pulls me out too much. I'm too high, too far removed from the details, which are important.
Yeah.
So I found that OpenClaw for that type of work doesn't work for me. I have to use like Claude Code and just be at that level where I do see the diffs regularly. It's more collaborative. Like there's more human at the edge than what OpenClaw kind of like defaults to.
Yeah.
But you want to have those levels of resolution built in because people will find the level that they like to operate at, and that's the thing. Like some of the tools that like exist in this like coworker suite, for lack of a better way to describe it, is really similar to how like a lot of people would work with their like ops tools in a business. It's just you've got agents in there that will go and carry work forward for you. So I think that will work with a lot of like normies that don't want to go like another layer and resolution deeper into a terminal.
I mean, sometimes just saying like, all right, can you just go and download this repo and play with it and give me a report on like, whether I should consider this or not. Like that's a chat. That's fine. I'm planning a holiday. I'm going to chat to you and I would like you to draw up a plan. Like, give me a directory and then give me a couple of documents in there. One is going to be like a travel plan. One is like research on different places we could stay. The next one is, research on different things to do in each location. Maybe like is one file per location or something like that. But it's like I will instigate it with a chat. I will manage it with a chat, and I'll go look at the documents every now and again.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll record a comment on one of them. Like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's different places where you'll do different actions, and they're all valid. And then coding work is sometimes it's just like fix this bug that does this now. Like this is quite a simple. I don't even need to check that you've done it. It'll just appear on the website in the next couple of days. It's fine. A lot of it is like, no, I need to be intimately involved in it. As I say, like, I've kind of redesigned like this whole. So I was looking to launch the Coworker Superbase stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna rebuild it from scratch because there's just been that amount of all right, we started like this, and there's a bunch of stuff I knew I was going to do, but I didn't bring it into the design at the start, and therefore it's a bit kludgy, and it's not going to scale well. And I'm like, right, this is the moment to go. All right, that's a thing. We're going to go. Breaking changes over here, and we just redo the whole thing from scratch to this design. But we spent like a day and a half on the design to make sure it's correct. And the idea being that then that will stand up as like almost a protocol level document of how you use this and exactly where the boundaries are, and we make sure that this is clean and never needs to change again. And then all this stuff in the front end, we can do whatever we want. Cool. So, and like that's a moment where I was like in the chat with Wingman. It's like we're chatting and we've got the document up next to the chat, and as we chat the document changes, and then I can go in and edit the doc, and you can view everything that I've done. You can leave your questions in there, or I can just go and record a 20-minute voice memo of like why you're wrong on all this stuff and how you should be thinking about it. And then we eventually had like a suite of documentation that all works, and I was like, okay, now build it, and it's building it now, so we'll see.
He's doing it right now.
It's doing it.
Get an audio update
back at home.
There's also the other level is like people working with other people with their agents. Yeah. Right. It's that collaborative layer that you also
this is
need to
one of the
bake in.
areas I didn't bake into it from the start, which is actually just a major change to the way you manage it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that would be super interesting. I think maybe the biggest lesson for both of us from OpenClaw was the fact that actually we should be like kind of more Wingman first with our like delivery approach for our business, and let's just get more people into Wingman.
Yes.
Where was previously we were kind of more like training and development focused, and Wingman is the tool that you use, and I think the success of OpenClaw short term, I don't know if it'll stick, but it
will for sure.
You reckon?
Yeah, absolutely.
I underestimated the desire that people would have to like run this sort of stuff. I thought you either have to run this yourself to get the most out of it, or I have to then take on a bunch of risk or whatever for running it on your behalf. And it's like, you know what, I don't know, people do want to play with these
absolutely.
things, so we need to get this out there.
Yeah.
And simple to use. I think you said that to me the other night, right? It was like, I want it.
Yeah, like I think it was some like scheduling aspect to Wingman, like schedule work at, and I thought that would resonate with a lot of people, like to be able to have tasks just kicked off, like an interface interface like you displayed, like that would a lot of people would just gravitate towards that, find utility out of it for sure.
Yeah.
When I was using OpenClaw, it also like I asked it to build something. I can't remember exactly what, but I went out and found like a really obscure repo on GitHub, and I managed to catch it before it sort of like built, and I was like 0 stars, like obscure thing. I'm like, whoa, hold on, can you like go and look for a more reputable sort of code base?
Right.
Because like that's a security disaster waiting to happen if we use that. Like, have you audited it? Like, come on, like I don't. It just sort of saw that as somehow found that as the way to move forward, and I was about to use it. I just managed to catch it like in a stream of conscious, like, stop, don't do that. That's a bad idea, please.
Well, and a lot of that presumably is hidden as well.
Yep, it is.
It's like you just don't see it, like, unless it tells you, like, oh, I decided to go and get this repo, and then.
Well, it's also optimized to work with through chat apps, right? So I most often have used it through the TUI, and it's not a great experience. Like, it will start to output a message to you, and then it'll like override it, and it seems quite delayed through the TUI. Whereas when it's through the chat apps, it's a much better experience. But you lose the controllability about like session management and all that type of stuff that you have with the TUI. So, like,
that's where I think you need the choice. Is like sometimes you care and sometimes you don't.
Right.
And it's like, if I'm just if I've got like a very specific, if I'm asking you about like planning something for a holiday, as I say, like it doesn't matter. Just as long as you've done this in the next 5 minutes, I don't care.
Yeah.
If we're actively developing something together and I want this to work, I should probably keep an eye on the work and get involved.
I'm sure there's ways to do it with the chat apps, but I just felt that you just kind of get like there's more of just like hit, ta-da.
It's like, and I use this repo, and you're like, whoa, what's this? What is this? Yeah. It's called prompt injection attack. Like, I thought it sounded cool. I like those words. They're all individually, they're all fine.
Yeah.
I checked each one out individually. I didn't really think about it as a sentence. But there you go. All right.
That's pretty good.
Wow, this has been an epic episode.
It is. Something's
How long?
bonging. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. Maybe that's, yeah. It's
It's you.
Yeah.
Oh, there you
I
go.
was wondering what that was, yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right. Well,
On
what
that
a
note.
lovely way to on that note of bonging. That's the good stuff.